In our 78th season, the Palm Beach Civic Association expands its communication outreach with a state-of-the-art television studio. 33480, the zip code for the beautiful island of Palm Beach. Our goal? To bring you in-depth interviews of the most colorful and knowledgeable personalities on the island. And now, our host.
Hello and welcome to Studio 33480. This is our new interviewing space. It's kind of intimate. We built it along the lines of a podcast space. So what we believe we're going to be able to do in this space is kind of get a little deeper into the issues, into the hearts and minds of the folks we bring in here. And today we are very excited because we have with us Maggie Zeidman. She is the president of the Palm Beach Town Council. And Maggie, thank you for coming and being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
We are thrilled. You know, Maggie, we want to get into a little bit of a deeper layer of some of the things that you deal with every single day as president of the council. And let's first start with construction everywhere. And now we know, okay, here's a new term that I learned from you folks at council, mansionization. Mm-hmm. So a big influx of folks came in the 18-20 months of COVID. They wanted this beautiful island, warm weather. They bought a lot of houses. They're now converting those houses to make them probably bigger and more comfortable for their families. And that's, I can get that. But some of the folks in the neighborhoods living near all this construction who are used to a more, cottage style, especially in the North End, they're not exactly thrilled with this. Nobody likes the construction. That's just something everybody has to live with. But there seems to be sort of a change in feel, or at least a fear that the island will change. Where do you sort of sort all these points of view out? How do you deal with that?
Well, you've really nailed it, because that is exactly the issue that probably on most people's minds these days. And it's, you know what, the thing is, it's not just in the North End. It's also occurring in Midtown. It probably occurs even in the estate section, but to a much lesser extent, because there's just so much land that around each home. But in Midtown and in the North End, this is truly an issue. You've set it out. You've set that table very well, Wendy. So you clearly know what the issue is. Yeah, well, we think that too. Now what? Yeah. So we have done a deep dive into it. First of all, we're hiring a consultant, a planner, so that's someone who is educated to give some guidance to not just the council, but also to planning and zoning. So that'll be a help. Now, we've just started that process, and it's going to take months before we get that person on board. But because it is such a critical issue, and I really do think it is, that we're starting on our own. We have Wayne Bergman, who's the director. He's very, very well versed in this. James Murphy, the assistant director. That's a great team that they have there. Sarah and Jordan. That's and of course Paul Castro. So we have a very good staff team to look at these issues. We are also working with Skip, because believe it or not, there are legal issues entangled in all of that. Oh, yeah. You know, for example, you mentioned the mansionization. And a lot of people do use that term. What it really means to me is it's massing. And some of the massing is occurring because of FEMA. We need to build higher. So we passed an ordinance earlier this year about fill with the help of the staff in planning and zoning. And we allow a certain amount of fill. After that, you have to come for a variance. But what happens is you get a house built on fill, and it's a two-story house, but now it looms with the same front yard setback from the street, and it looms over you. So the appearance of mass, it isn't even that it required a variance. So, but it will appear more massive. It's higher. It's going to be at least, it can be 3-4 feet higher.
So you get that I'm being looked at by the new higher building, in my backyard type of feeling.
That, and it's imposing from all sides. So it's imposing on the sides, it's imposing from the front, from the street, and it's imposing in the back. It's not that anyone's doing anything wrong. We just have to figure out a way to correct for it, because that's not going to stop. The FEMA regulations are a mandate. We don't like mandates these days, but that's a mandate. You have to do it. And where the legal entanglements come in are, let's say someone wants to sell their home, and the council has put in change some of the code. Then the problem is someone may feel that they can't sell their home for what they could have sold it for. So those are just some of the arguments that come forward from Bert Harris. However, our attorney has opined, Skip Randolph, who's been here for 42 years, has extensive experience in law, that it depends on whether we have created an inordinate burden. So I don't want to go too deep into that, but probably not. And if you have a time in the future when it takes effect, you sort of take care of some of these things. But it really is a problem. I go up to the North End. I've traveled the roads up there, walk around Midtown, and you see it, and you just can't help it. So some of the things that we are looking at are massing. What are the options for the fact that you have to incorporate the new FEMA requirement? And what are your options then so that you don't wind up with a bathtub effect on your neighbors? Number 3.
Which is that this home is higher, and when it rains, it drains into the neighboring home's property. Yeah.
And so what you could do is build up, but build at the street level. So you have and they do that in Charleston. So you have a first floor. It's not a full first floor possibly, but you have something. It's very pretty. It'd be landscaped around it. So there are options, and we need direction. We need help. We are not planners. We did not study that. We do have some people who are planners. James Murphy is one, and we have other people on some other boards who are actual planners. That's what they studied. John David Corey is one who just comes into my mind. So we have a wealth of experience, but we need help. The other thing we're looking at is lot aggregation, because especially in areas like the North End or in Midtown, when you aggregate lots, now you have a bigger space with which to build. And then and we're looking at the side yard setbacks, the front yard setback, the backyard, as I mentioned. We're looking at planning and zoning did a deep dive into, do you need a garage? Everything that you look at, though, has a benefit and it has a negative. So if you don't have garages, you have more cars on the street. If we don't use space for garages, though, people maybe don't have to build as high of a house or as much of a house to accommodate their needs. So all of those things have to be looked at, and we have started. Planning and zoning has had 2 meetings already where they've looked at it, and the council will they're advisory to the council. They're a very, very august group, and we look forward, headed by our former mayor, Caniglio, and they've been at this for a while. So I hope that we will get some resolution on that before year end.
And when you bring that consultant on, we will maybe bring you back in and see what the recommendations are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would be great.
It's going to take some time, but we are working on it. The other thing we're doing is working with ARCOM. They're really our thin blue line in terms of the beauty of the town, the architecture, and in their ordinance, they do look at the context. Does the house fit in with the context, new house, context of the street? Does it create harmony with the street? Is it too dissimilar? Is it too similar? So there are very clear guidelines, criteria that they use also. So anyway, yes, that's one of the major problems.
That's a hot button issue for sure.
It is.
But here's a related kind of question. The town commissioned the Woods Hole Engineering Group to study sea level rise, the vulnerability of the island to that rising water, and to give you some ideas about hardening the island, protecting the island. And that is forward thinking, and the town deserves a lot of credit. Kudos to the town for jumping ahead on what is going to be a major issue for all coastal communities. Okay, that's great. Meantime, we hear from residents who are, am I going to have to lift my house up? Do I have to build a bigger seawall? And what if I build this bigger seawall and my neighbor doesn't, and then I get their spill off? I mean, there's just so many implications for homeowners. Where is all of that?
Mm-hmm. That's a tough one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, you can see where the issues are. So what they identified in that 91-page report called Level Up is that we're most vulnerable at this point because we've done such a good job on the beach management and sand that we're most vulnerable from the west side. And they came up, as you pointed out, with a few things that we could do. One of them costs billions of dollars, and that's putting a gate out in the ocean and during storms, stopping water from coming in. But it's not that you could just close that gate willy-nilly when you just don't want the high tide, because there's commerce that goes through that area. Another thing that they pointed out was we need to raise, as you said, the seawall. And, the gate was just, that's an option.
And that's very down the road and would require cooperation.
It's billions of dollars.
Sure.
Yes, and it requires cooperation with neighboring towns and with the government and with the state. There's a lot that would have to be done with all the environmental agencies. So yes, there's a lot that would have to be done there. I haven't even begun to look at that. But they did talk to us about, the consultants did speak to us about raising the seawall. And then do you raise the lake trail? And it's a real conundrum over there because you have areas where they're private property, and then you have public, town-owned, all of us own property. And there's the lake trail. You have docks. You have homes on the other side. So that's not an easy. It's I'm sure solvable at some point and in some way, but it's not easy. And there are many different ways to solve it. Does the town take it on? Is it taken on individually by private owners? And can we get any help in terms of financial aid? Would we? It's a big issue, and I think you'll hear more and more about that as we go forward. But it is a critical issue. If we do raise that wall, we'll do something similar to what we did at the new marina, where you can add on to it at some point in the future. But it is a problem. Now, not all of the lake trail floods at this point, and I think that's important to remember too. Not all of the lake trail is at the same level. So there are areas that flood more than other areas, and I know that Public Works will be looking into that. We need a little more data on exactly where. I know where I live that's where it floods. So good question. We don't have an answer for you yet. We are waiting for Public Works to come back to us with a list of what we are going to start studying first. Some of the things that they identified, though, Wendy, were things that are going to be taken care of right away, things that the town owns, pump stations,
the
elevating
easy
them.
fixes.
Yeah, we need to go
Lifting
ahead.
electrical equipment.
Exactly.
Up.
Exactly.
And
This
so on.
other,
Yeah.
the other issue
Yes.
is, it's going to go in all different directions for a little
we'll
bit.
be watching.
Oh, yeah.
So, we can't have you in here and not talk about COVID because, among other things, your leadership with this COVID-19 crisis has been invaluable to the town. Your background in nursing, and then your role as council president. I mean, you have taken this town and made it so safe. We are mostly vaccinated. You've championed the wearing of masks, washing hands, social distancing. You have helped us understand what we had to do and why. And so thank you.
Well, I feel very embarrassed. And it was a team effort.
Of course.
Yeah, of course it was.
Of course
but thank
it
you.
was. Yeah. But the question then is, it's not
What
quite
now?
over,
Yeah.
and we don't really want to talk about it, but is there a way that you can frame it for us
Yeah.
so that we get it?
Yeah, no one wants to talk about it, and I'm glad you asked, because I think we're coming into, I know we are coming into a period of time where the numbers can go up very easily, and they probably will. I have that expectation that there will be infections. Luckily, though, this is not the same as last year at this time because many are vaccinated, and yes, many people have had it. However, those that have had COVID and have not been vaccinated have a waning. Their immunity wanes fairly quickly within 6 months. And the other thing is that Delta is so transmittable that people are getting infected again, even if they've had COVID once, because maybe they had Beta or they had the novel. But so, I think that for you and for me, because we are vaccinated, we're not going to worry too much about it. What I think everyone needs to do, though, is two things that I want everyone to take away today that need to be cleared up in their minds. If you are in a situation where you know people are not vaccinated and you are going to be sitting like you and I are having a conversation, you need to be masked. You just do. And if you're outside, it's a little bit different. But sitting here for 20 minutes in an enclosed environment, you need to be masked. And so I think you need to be careful about who we are with, and you need to know whether or not people are vaccinated. You need to have a sense about that. And if you have any questions, then put a mask on. The second thing that is going on, people are doing in-home testing, rapid testing, and the gold standard is still the PCR test. And it takes about 3 days, some say 4, some of the doctors say 4, in order to develop enough of the virus in the nasopharynx in order to test for it, whether it's antigen or it's a PCR test. But mostly the PCR test does pick it up. It picks up the genetic material.
So you're saying timing of the test is critical.
Exactly. And timing is important. If you've been exposed, the time that you get the test, and it should be the PCR test if you know you have an exposure, is really 3 days. You should be waiting until you get...
Don't go the day after the party.
Don't, because you may get a false negative.
Right.
And then the other problem is with all the rapid testing and home testing, I think it gives people can give you a false sense of security because you get a negative result and you think you're okay, and you may not be okay. So if you've had an exposure, if you've been around someone who then calls you and says, you know what, I have COVID, I'm positive, you need to wait a couple of days, get your PCR test, wait for the PCR to come back, and don't be around other people during that period of time because you may be infectious and you may give it to others, including your own children. So, and the best thing, once again, if you're in that situation, is wear a mask so that you're not infecting others. Even if you're vaccinated, if you know now you have been around someone who is positive, then you need to protect those that are around you because we can get it. We just won't get sick and we won't,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
all right.
and Wendy,
Good to know.
Just one other
Sure.
thing. This week's, when I got it from the town, from Jay Boudeshwa sends it out on Friday night, we get the statistics. So it had been trending down. The number of infections had been trending down very nicely. And, of course, it got to 2.5 a week ago. Guess what it was this week? 2.5% again. So you can see that people are instead of it going down, it needs to get down to 1 or below 1. You can see people are starting to be with one another. And I'm not saying that all of those infections are going to people are going to get hospitalized. Probably not. Because we have so many who have been vaccinated. We'll get through this, I think for sure. I think look at where we are, where we came from, and flattening the curve almost
Right.
2 years ago.
Right.
And now, and we knew nothing. We know now how to protect ourselves. So that's what we have to do. And yes, we're going to have holidays this year. And we'll
Okay.
see how it goes.
Okay. We should say that the town also offers Regeneron.
Oh, yeah.
You want to explain that just
Oh,
briefly?
my gosh. Yeah. You know what? Our paramedics, Chief Donato and Chief Baker, I really have to call them out because they get on things immediately. So not only did they do the vaccines and got vaccines for us, but they also got the boosters too. I was surprised at that they were
They're
able
on
to
it.
get them. Oh yeah, and then Regeneron.
Right.
Now Regeneron is a monoclonal antibody cocktail, so it's got a couple of monoclonal antibodies in it, and it's given subcutaneously. And if you've been exposed, you need to call the chiefs. You need to call in to
Right.
the fire department, and they will come and they will give you the Regeneron. Look where we are. Moderna, Pfizer, J&J, even AstraZeneca, and the boosters and Regeneron. And there are others, as you know, too, that are being
So the
used.
Regeneron reduces the symptom. So if you
It
get sick, you get
actually-
less sick.
You get less sick because it reduces the viral load.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again. Okay. We are up to speed. Just a quick observation. You're the president of the council, and a takeaway observation, having sat in for a couple years now every month, you guys are all so prepared. I mean, you don't always agree. I hope you don't, and I think everyone's glad you don't because you hear the voices. But uniformly, it seems everybody comes in there, they've read every page of the backup, they know the issues. It is impressive. I just want to know, is it the good group that I think it is? I mean, it really
is.
seems that way.
No, it truly is.
Yeah.
There's not a single person up there.
No slackers.
No slackers. They do. They know everything that's going on. I'll tell you something about this group. I think we all make each other better. I really do. And there's a genuine care of residents and what their issues are and bringing it forward in council. But we make each other better. We make each other be the best that we can possibly be. That's in every person up there anyway. That whole group, the mayor and the five of us, we're all in.
Yeah, you are.
We're totally
And I see how
all
that
in.
make each other better work because you do challenge each other.
Oh, yeah.
And you are not all of one mind. You bring your individuality and your training in. But at any rate, it's just a pleasure to kind of watch the dynamics of it.
Yeah, that's
because you do get to a higher level with the whole process.
That's a very seasoned council too.
Right.
You know, there's no even the newest member, Councilman Ted Cooney. He's been chair of landmarks for 8 years.
Yeah.
He knows exactly
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Yeah, I
you know, he's very good. So that's a very, very seasoned group, and I think that helps too because we've had the experience of all of those years. You know, and we've had very good leadership from the mayor. Mayor Moore has taken on she hit the. What they say, hit the road running.
Yeah, hit the ground running.
She did. I mean, things came up in May with the water. Letter went out.
Right.
Not just one, another letter.
Right.
And
right.
third letter. And so I just, and now working on the strategic plan. You know that she's working on the strategic plan,
Right.
which her mother worked on and started back in 2000 and 2002.
Leslie Smith.
Leslie Smith.
Yeah.
Mayor Smith. So, I think these issues that you brought up, they are challenging. And you make one decision and go this way, it's going to have a negative effect over here on something else.
Right.
We know that. But we will go through each issue and figure it out to the best of our ability, and we will hire consultants for where our ability is not there, is lacking. So we're on it.
Yeah, you certainly are. Finally, we at the Civic Association, we want to try to educate the public about everything that's going on in the town, and we try to do that. But from your point of view, how do you sort of see the role of the Civic Association in the community?
Well, number one, you're absolutely right. You do educate. We wouldn't have gotten through COVID without you. That is the absolute truth. You put it out there. You did interviews. You gave people information. And I'm not saying that our staff didn't do that. They did. They did it too.
We got a lot of information from the town.
Yes, exactly. We worked. See that?
Yeah.
We worked together, and we worked together from that very Friday and into Saturday. Was on the phone with you, Wendy, and Mary, and Bob Wright, and they were conferring with Kirk Bluen and Jay. So I think that's what's very special about the Civic Association, is that they work along with us. And there's such expertise in your group that why we are very fortunate, I would say. We're very fortunate. I mean, look, we have heads of companies, chairmen of boards, people that have taken companies public, doctors, I mean, lawyers. We just have such strength in the Civic Association. And it's always done in such a way that we help each other. You help us by bringing that expertise and by, look, what you're doing to get information out to the town. For years we've wondered, how do we get information to the residents? Well, you've taken that on. And that's important. If they don't have the information, they don't know what's going on. They wouldn't even know, possibly, that the council, nobody's going to listen to 16 hours of a council meeting.
Except me.
Yeah, you. Thank you for doing that. But they wouldn't know it. They know it because you're interviewing me. You're going to interview others. You have it on TV. They can know what's going on. I mean, that's impressive. If that's the one thing a town needs to do, is to communicate with their residents so they know they can be part of it.
Well, and in all honesty, I mean, you came in here today, so you all make it very easy. You are accessible, open door policy, and that works perfectly for what we're trying to do.
Oh,
so.
Good. And they're all of us are like that. So yeah,
absolutely.
we are. We're accessible.
You are.
Yeah.
Maggie, thank you so much for coming in. I learned a lot. I'm sure our viewers and watchers will learn a lot from all that you're doing. And come back soon.
That would be wonderful. I will. And thank you, Wendy, for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you very much. And, Maggie brought up some of the aspects of membership to the Civic Association. We want to go now to Christina Nicholson. She is going to show us and let us hear from some other members of the Palm Beach Civic Association as to what role this organization plays in their lives. We'll see you next time in Studio 33480.
Since 1944, the Palm Beach Civic Association has been protecting the quality of life right here in Palm Beach. We do this by working with our members to take proactive stands on civic affairs, informing, educating, and engaging residents on key town issues, working with local government, and encouraging citizen involvement in the community.
I got very lucky, and I had a friend suggest to me really soon after we got here that I get involved with the Civic Association, and I've just thoroughly enjoyed it. I've made great relationships.
John Cregan is just one of over 2,000 members in a town of about 10,000 residents. Another longtime member is Suzanne Frisbee.
I think it's just one of the most meaningful contributions you could make, particularly in a small community. To be involved and understand what's going on in any number of facets of your community, whether it has to do with undergrounding or climate change or life safety, etc. This is a way to get clear and concise information and participate in how a community responds.
For local, world best-selling author James Patterson, it's all about action.
With the Civic Association, not only do they talk about stuff, they actually get it done. And that's the key thing. You really don't want to have an organization unless they can get something done.
Our directors, officers, and executive committees stand proudly with others throughout the generations in making Palm Beach the very best place to call home, while the professional staff here at the Civic Association has a passion for our mission in Palm Beach.
Our membership is our lifeline, and it truly is. You know, we rely on our members' support to do the things we do, and we're mission driven, and we've had that same mission for 78 years, and we'll continue for another 78 and beyond, because this organization is what makes Palm Beach and living in Palm Beach a paradise.
Whether it's catching up with what's going on in our latest newscasts, mixing and mingling at an event, or making business connections and new friends, it's undisputed that residential members and corporate members of the Palm Beach Civic Association are preserving, protecting, and enhancing the special qualities of this amazing island.
We live in a great town. We live in a very unified town. I think it's just an opportunity to be a good neighbor, meet other good neighbors, and take positions on things that we feel are good for our town, and share the news of what's happening in our town.
From our communications team to 16 different committees working to keep Palm Beach, we invite you to join us as a member and share in some of these amazing benefits.
There's so many people involved with the Civic Association who really know the town and have expertise about various things, and it's just great relationships to have. It's great networking, and they've become friends, and when I have a question about something that I think they're going to know the answer to, it's just so easy to pick up the phone and call them, and we have that pre-existing relationship.
The caliber of human beings that you meet are unparalleled, in my opinion. They're all community-minded. I haven't met a single soul who hasn't done well in life, and not only have they done well, but they bring those skills and contribute them to this community. Don't walk, but run. The people you'll meet, the relationships you'll build, quality of the engagement is pretty spectacular.
For more information about getting involved and becoming a member of the Palm Beach Civic Association, just visit palmbeachcivic.org. For Palm Beach TV, I'm Christina Nicholson reporting.
Thanksgiving is all about family to me, and those that are with us and those that aren't.
I'm thankful for the fact that we are coming out of the pandemic, and suddenly we can all meet together for meals and for meetings. It's wonderful.
The family's healthy, and everybody's doing well, and the COVID seems to be getting under control. Life seems to be returning to normal, and that's what I'm most thankful for.